After the Great Game Crash nearly wiped out the entire gaming industry, the big question is, how did the gaming world survive? How did we go from a market filled with shovelware and broken promises to a new era filled with iconic games and global franchises? Well, this is the story of how gaming made its comeback, and how the foundations of modern games were built between 1985 and 1995. When the crash hit, most American retailers didn't even want to touch video games anymore. But then a company from Japan stepped in. In 1985, they launched the Nintendo Entertainment System, or NES. And it didn't just revive the market, it basically rewrote the rulebook. Nintendo introduced something new: strict quality control. Every game needed Nintendo's approval. No more low-effort rushed titles flooding the shelves. This alone rebuilt public trust and gave players a reason to care again. And of course, NES came packed with one very important guy: Super Mario. Super Mario Bros. Wasn't just fun, it was a masterclass in game design. The game taught players the rules without using a single word. It introduced smooth scrolling worlds, secrets, physics, and a level of polish that players had never seen before. If the Atari era was about experimenting, Mario was the moment game design grew up. Clear goals, memorable characters, consistent rules — this is where the foundation of modern gaming was born. Just 1 year later, Nintendo dropped another bomb with The Legend of Zelda. This game didn't hold your hand. It threw you into a massive world full of mysteries, dungeons, and secrets you could discover in any order. And then it did something truly groundbreaking for its time. It introduced battery-backed saves. For the first time, players could keep their progress in a long adventure without writing down strange passwords. Zelda was the blueprint for future open-world games from Skyrim to Elden Ring. By the early 90s, gaming wasn't just back, it was thriving. And this is when things got spicy. Enter the console wars. Sega Genesis vs Super Nintendo, Blast Processing vs Mode 7, Sonic vs Mario. Both companies pushed each other to innovate: faster hardware, better graphics, tighter controls, and more ambitious games. This rivalry basically defined the childhood of millions of kids and cemented consoles as a global phenomenon. At the arcades, something else was happening. Street Fighter II exploded in popularity. People lined up with quarters in hand, waiting to challenge the next player. This game turned arcades into mini stadiums. It created the first competitive gaming communities. And in a way, it was the true beginning of esports. Tournament play, character metas, combos, all of that started here. Then came Doom. This game didn't just create the FPS genre as we know it, it redefined what PC gaming could be. Fast action, 3D environments, network multiplayer, Doom was decades ahead of its time. But the real game changer wasn't just the gameplay, it was the modding community that grew around it. Doom let players create their own levels, characters, and totally new experiences. It was the birth of a community-driven culture that still exists today, and eventually led to games like Counter-Strike, Team Fortress, and more. Finally, in 1994, Sony entered the ring with the PlayStation, and everything changed again. CD-ROMs opened the door to bigger games, better audio, full-motion cutscenes, and worlds that were way too massive for old cartridges to handle. 3D graphics became the new normal. Games like Tekken, Resident Evil, Crash Bandicoot, and Final Fantasy VII showed players what the future looked like. PlayStation wasn't just a console, it was the moment gaming truly became mainstream worldwide. So that's how the industry survived the Great Game Crash. Not with one big comeback, but through a decade of innovation, competition, and iconic games that defined a generation. From Mario to Zelda to Doom to PlayStation, this era didn't just revive gaming, it built the foundation for everything we play today. If the crash was the end of one era, then 1985 to 1995 was the rebirth of the gaming world.